Hi there, I'm Dre, the host and founder of the Dragon Network, an online member-based community where health IT professionals can share their ideas, discuss their experiences, and collaborate with each other on all things related to health IT. On this week's video, I would like to talk about incorporating artificial intelligence into radiology workflows, and specifically the 3 different ways that you can consider incorporating that type of technology into the review of diagnostic images. So before I get started, if you haven't had a chance to subscribe to the channel yet, go ahead and do that now. And as always, throughout the video, if you like the type of content that you're seeing, don't forget to hit the like button. Okay, let's get started. So with artificial intelligence in radiology in particular, there's been a lot of conversations about some of these algorithms sort of coming in and taking over the radiologist's world. And the information that is coming out and all of the technology that's possible in having a computer system sort of differentiate between the grayscale models is absolutely exciting and is likely to change the way that radiology sort of functions going forward in the future. But I want to talk about there's 3 very different and very specific ways that you can look to incorporate that type of technology into your diagnostic imaging department. And I think it's important that we understand what those 3 different ways are, because each organization is going to need to make a decision once they do get to the point where they're incorporating AI as to how they're going to incorporate it. So the first one is implementing artificial intelligence without a patient record. What this means is the system that is running the AI algorithms is going to run against your imaging systems, and it is going to provide direction and guidance and often reference information to the radiologist as they're reviewing the particular scans or images that they're looking at. The key part here is that the information that's being presented is not actually going to be incorporated into their report. So it's going to be off to the side for them to consider and then to incorporate into their thought process when they're actually making their final diagnostics, but it's not something that's going to live on the patient record. So in this particular example, think of implementing a textbook off to the side where it is there for reference, it is available, it can provide helpful information, and it can augment sort of the thought process and get things going, but it isn't something that's going to be on the record. So that's the first option. The second option is to implement AI algorithms and artificial intelligence systems where the information does end up on the patient record. So it does actually become part of the legal medical record for the individual. In this example, same thing, it's going to run against the images and the scans. It's going to present that information to the radiologist, only it is going to be pulled in and incorporated into that final report. The radiologist, absolutely with their expertise and opinion, is going to have final say. They are absolutely going to write their final report. It's not going to take over that process by any means. They're very involved, but it is going to let the individuals that are reviewing their report know what the artificial intelligence system actually put forward to the radiologist for consideration. So this second option is something that requires a little bit more organizational change management than the first. It's very important to have a high level of transparency with what those algorithms are set up to do if they're ending up on the legal record. So the radiologist absolutely, as I mentioned, has the final say and is going to put their interpretation down. If there's not a clear understanding of what's contained in there, then there can be fear leading into the implementation on what the AI algorithms are going to recommend or guide the radiologist to do and what the actual outcome is going to be. So transparency with these is key, having change management, of course, in place to help everyone understand sort of what that looks like. The other piece that needs to be put in place for this particular implementation path is you need to have a very strong and robust governance and review model on making sure that the recommendations and the guidance that the AI algorithms are actually putting forth are kept up to date. So they are always maintained on best practice, that they're being reviewed on a regular basis, and that any additional information that needs to be incorporated is incorporated on that. Just imagine a textbook off to the side and no one bothers to update that textbook for years. You don't want that information sort of being put forward and being incorporated into the legal record if it's not relevant, if it's been changed, or if there's new information to take into consideration. So the third and final way that you can incorporate AI into a radiologist or diagnostic imaging department workflow is to have the AI algorithms or the systems that are incorporated with AI actually go to the patient record, but also have the ability for an interaction between the radiologist and that AI system directly. So you do still need to have absolutely a review process in place. You need to have the transparency and the change management. You need to have really good synergy between the individuals who are working on those AI systems as well as the radiologists that are using it on a daily basis. So with this particular model, you're going to have bidirectional feedback that's available. So the AI algorithm is going to present things to the radiologist, and the radiologist in their interpretation is actually going to be able to respond and let the algorithm know whether the recommendation and guidance is accurate or inaccurate, and if it is inaccurate, why it is inaccurate. So where this is important and where this leads to is the ability for that AI algorithm to incorporate machine learning and to actually get stronger and better over time. You do still want to have a full review of what's in the system in place. That's not something that's going to replace that from the second option, but it is going to be more real time. You do have the ability to sort of adjust that as you go. You want to make sure the governance, of course, in this particular model is very strong and in place, and you want to make sure that the expectations are clearly set of what happens if they indicate something is inaccurate. So if it's inaccurate and it's flagged by one radiologist, does that automatically mean the algorithm is going to be updated and changed? Does it need to be flagged by multiples? Is it reviewed by an expert panel? So you need to understand what that looks like and what framework is around that bilateral interaction with the AI system. Those are the three main ways that you can implement AI into your diagnostic imaging department. I, of course, didn't touch on whether the AI algorithms and machine learning components were built into the EHR or into the PACS system or where they lived, and that really is going to depend on the organization that you're working at and what you already have deployed. So the options and permutations for that are far too vast for me to dive into, but the core pieces that you want to look at, or the core considerations that you want to understand, is when you're considering rolling out AI and when the organization is looking at doing that, which one of these three types is actually being deployed, so that you as an IT professional can make sure that you're helping out in the best way you can. That is all I have for this week's video. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you again soon.